So Far Gone. In February 2009, Drake released an 18-track mixtape with an emotionally transparent, genre-blending style of rap that was rare at the time. Drake had already cut his teeth on 2 early mixtapes, Room for Improvement and Comeback Season, both smaller, scrappier projects that hinted at his potential but hadn't yet captured the world's attention. While technically his 3rd mixtape, So Far Gone, allowed Drake to establish his signature style with moody R and B hooks over crisp hip-hop beats, the type of music that could dominate both clubs and headphones. The mixtape's title was inspired by a conversation with OVO co-executive producer Oliver El-Khatib, reflecting both a warning and a prophecy, signaling Drake's ambition and foreshadowing his meteoric rise. At the time though, Drake faced skepticism, a half-Jewish Canadian former child actor fresh off his role in Degrassi The Next Generation, trying to shake off the teen actor label. He was hungry, ambitious, and desperate to be taken seriously in the rap game. Working with longtime collaborator Noah Shebib, better known as 40, Drake explored multiple facets of his persona, leading into vulnerability, ambition, and the contradictions of success. The track Best I Ever Had was a love letter that became a crossover hit, blending rap verses with a melodic, sing-song chorus. Successful, featuring Trey, Songz, and Lil Wayne, was about chasing dreams but questioning the cost. Even lesser-known tracks like Little Bit and Let's Call It Off demonstrate his versatility and star power early on. Critics praised So Far Gone for its bold, genre-blurring approach, even calling it more album-like. It earned universal acclaim and was hailed as one of the most cohesive, atmospheric hip-hop records in recent memory. Pitchfork called it one of the most compulsively listenable mixtapes, while Slant Magazine offered a mixed but optimistic take, highlighting Drake's promise as a pretty brave effort for a newcomer. Fans reflected on the mixtape's role in their personal growth and shared its special status among early listeners, with So Far Gone lives in its own category, and there's no other artist who can publish a variety of styles and expressions in one album and on their first try. Interestingly, the mixtape's release strategy was innovative. Drake used MySpace and his OVO blog to distribute it for free, gaining international recognition and establishing a blueprint for digital era marketing in music. After the mixtape's massive buzz, Universal and Young Money released a shorter official EP version with 7 tracks, which debuted at number 6 on the Billboard 200, sold 73,000 copies first week in the US, and became certified gold by the RIAA. Whether you loved it or hated it, this mixtape forced everyone to pay attention. Did it have an effect on you? Thank me later. In June 2010, Drake stepped into the spotlight with his first studio album, Thank Me Later. Now signed to Young Money, Drake had to prove he wasn't just a mixtape sensation. He was entering the big leagues, collaborating with Jay-Z, Alicia Keys, and Lil Wayne, and facing the pressure to deliver a debut album worthy of his rising hype. The 14-track album is sleek, polished, and cinematic, leaning more into pop rap territory while keeping subtle nods to Drake's Toronto roots. The production mixed club-ready beats with moody atmospheres, giving Drake's vocals space to shine, and explored fame, relationships, and introspection. The track Over opens with cinematic strings that set a dramatic, almost orchestral tone, announcing Drake's arrival with confidence, while Find Your Love showcased his singing chops over a lush, emotional beat. Tracks like Fancy and Shut It Down reflected the temptations and distractions of sudden success and contrasted the moodier textures of the rest of the album. Thank Me Later solidified Drake's crossover appeal, someone who could dominate both radio and street credibility. Critics were generally positive, praising Drake's versatility but noting a few uneven tracks. Pitchfork noted how Drake embraced his suburban, non-gangster background and emerged as a compelling presence by being candid and relatable. On the critical side, Pop Matters argued the album suffered from an identity crisis, feeling good at parts but never great. And Now Magazine criticized Drake for complaining about fame too much, dubbing him humorless. Fans loved his relatability and the balance of rapping and singing, but did note the album was missing some of that classic 40 production. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 447,000 copies in its first week, and went on to earn platinum certification within 2 months. By 2016, the album had sold over 1.8 million copies in the US, officially placing Drake in the mainstream with a major label debut full of superstar features. What did you think of Drake's first studio album? Take Care. Drake's second studio album, released in November 2011, Take Care, embraces vulnerability with cinematic atmospheres, hip-hop wrapped in spare pianos, muffled drums, ghostly synths, and whispered R&B moods that feel like late-night confessions. It was a sonic shift that made Drake the undisputed high priest of a new era of emotional rap. Over 20 tracks and collaborations with 40 and The Weeknd. It hinted at a new moody Toronto sound. Lyrically, Drake dives deep, grappling with loneliness, heartbreak, the hollow side of fame, and the ambivalence of success. The album is just raw vulnerability. Marvin's Room became a cultural phenomenon, a voicemail-turned hit capturing loneliness and late-night reflection. Take Care, featuring Rihanna, explored romantic fragility, while Headlines reminded fans of Drake's ambition and confidence. The balance of braggadocio and heartbreak defined his style and influenced an entire generation of emo rap and melodic hip-hop artists. It was a blueprint for vulnerability in rap without losing credibility. Critics swiftly deemed it a masterpiece. The New York Times called it radical, praising Drake for collapsing pop, R&B, and rap into eccentric black pop. Rolling Stone lauded its ability to merge arrogance, sadness, tenderness, and self-pity into one squish-souled emotion. And Pitchfork likened Drake's candid songwriting to a modern-day Marvin Gaye, helmed by refined minimalism. Metacritic aggregated overwhelmingly positive reviews, highlighting its lush production and emotional resonance. Fans connected deeply to the album, referring to it as a comfort album, being tied to their memories with tracks still dominating playlists today. Take Care debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 with over 631,000 first-week sales, earned a Grammy for Best Rap Album, earned Juno's Album of the Year, and became double platinum. It cemented Drake as the king of emotional rap, reshaping what hip-hop could sound like, but some claimed he leaned too heavily on The Weeknd's influence. Was this the moment he started drifting from pure rap? Nothing was the same. Released in September 2013, Drake's next album, Nothing Was the Same, declared his reign over 15 tracks with introspective minimalism, spare synths, sub-bass swells, and enveloping production by 40 that pulls the listener deep into Drake's headspace. Drake said he recorded much of the album in Marvin's Room Studios in Toronto, tying back to his hometown roots. The album cover, painted by artist Kadir Nelson, features a young Drake facing off with his adult self, symbolizing growth and reflection on how far he'd come. He was now firmly a superstar, and with his fame, he had to assert dominance in a crowded hip-hop landscape. Nothing Was the Same is more polished and spacious than his previous projects. It's less about vulnerability and isolation and more about self-assured reflection. Lyrically, Drake explores relationships, fame, and legacy, balancing swagger and sentiment. The triumph-laced Started From the Bottom showed a confident artist unafraid to defy radio norms and became a rallying cry for his fans, though others mocked the lyrics as exaggerated. Hold On, We're Going Home gives a melodic sing-song chorus that blends pop and R&B seamlessly. As a response to Kendrick Lamar's fiery verse, Control, Drake slid in subtle subliminals on tracks like The Language and Tuscan Leather, signaling that he'd heard the challenge without naming names. Critics responded with widespread acclaim, citing its cohesiveness and emotional depth. Entertainment Weekly saw a hyper-realistic portrait of Drake, while Pitchfork lauded it as Drake and 40's most audacious inward push yet. It was an immersive black hole of sound that redefined album transitions and atmosphere. Fans widely embraced the introspection and sing-able hooks, making it another commercial and cultural milestone, but others said it lacked the big universal hits of Take Care. Nothing Was the Same shattered expectations, giving Drake yet another number 1 on the Billboard 200, powered by a massive 658,000 first-week sales, marking one of the top openings of 2013. The album cemented Drake's mainstream dominance, blurring the line between rap, pop, and R&B in a way few had before, and his rap style became a template for countless artists to come. If you're reading this, it's too late. Drake was now untouchable commercially but facing competition in the rap world. He needed to remind the industry who was in charge, and he did it by dropping a surprise 17-track mixtape called If You're Reading This It's Too Late in February 2015. The surprise drop shook the music industry. It influenced how artists released music in the streaming era and demonstrated that Drake could pivot styles while keeping his audience hooked. Amid swirling tension with Cash Money Records, mocking contracts, asserting freedom, and signaling a power shift in his career, this mixtape is dark, gritty, and rap forward. The project abandons radio polish for a darker, more paranoid soundscape with haunting minimalism, driven by OVO in-house beats. Drake creates immersive late-night vibes with producers like 40 and Boy Wonder, and weaves in eerie samples from Genuine's So Anxious on his tracks, Legend and Madonna, and samples from Echolese, Unfaith on his tracks Preach, and Wednesday Night Interlude. Lyrically, Drake addresses rivals, fame, and personal ambition, trading emotional confessionals for unapologetic aggression and street-ready confidence. He fires shots at Tyga on 6 p.m. in New York and sets the tone for what would soon be his Meek Mill feud. We also get subliminals throughout the mixtape directed at his other rivals, like Diddy and Kendrick Lamar. Tracks like Legend open with brash declarations of legacy, No Tellin' doubles as a flex and a business diss, and Know Yourself cements the running through the 6 with my woes mantra, showcasing a sharper, more confrontational side. At the same time, deeper cuts like You and the 6 and Jungle anchor the project in vulnerability. Overall, Overall, there's less singing, more braggadocio, and a hunger for dominance. Critics generally applauded the bold pivot with praise for its moody density and Drake's commanding self-assurance, even as some viewed it as a transitional or uneven effort. Fans were divided. Some now hail it as one of his most replayable and intense works, while others miss the melodic warmth of his earlier era. Despite the mixed reviews, the project debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, moving 535,000 album equivalent units in its first week, including 495,000 in pure sales. It broke Spotify's first week streaming record at the time with over 17 million streams in 3 days. The mixtape went on to be certified double platinum by the RIAA, solidifying Drake's dominance even without traditional promotion. This surprise drop brought a harder, more aggressive Drake, with songs that became anthems in the club and on the court. Yet it also came with ghostwriting controversies that fueled the Meek Mill beef. Was this Drake at his sharpest and most dangerous, or was the shine dimmed by questions of authenticity? What a time to be alive. Hot off a successful solo release, Drake teamed up with Future to drop What a Time to Be Alive in September 2015. The 11-track mixtape was famously recorded in just 6 days in Atlanta, reflecting a spontaneous, almost in-the-moment approach rather than a meticulously planned album. The diamond-studded cover art is literally a stock image of diamonds, chosen to symbolize wealth, luxury, and the project's icy vibe. Production leaned on trap-heavy beats, bridging Canadian rap with Atlanta trap, and blending Drake's introspective lyricism with Future's emotive delivery. The result was a cohesive yet dynamic sound, full of energy and swagger, merging fan bases and cementing Drake as a versatile, trend-aware artist. Lyrics focus on wealth, success, and flexing lifestyle, with less introspection than previous releases. Tracks like Diamonds Dancing showcase Metro Boomin's atmospheric production, while 30 for 30 Freestyle highlights Drake's sharp wordplay around a mild piano and shows no sign of insecurity. Jumpman in particular became a viral cultural touchstone, spawning countless memes and references in pop culture, fashion, and sports. The song would later receive a shot from Meek Mill in response to their ongoing feud. Critics were divided, with Pitchfork noting a lack of chemistry between Drake and Future, while others appreciated the spontaneous energy and standout tracks. Fans were divided too, some loving the vibe, while others saw it as rushed and disposable, carried more by Future's energy than Drake's presence. Over time, the project gained a kind of cult classic status, with some fans saying it aged better than critics first suggested. Despite being billed as a mixtape, it debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling over 375,000 units in its first week, underscoring the artist's strong fan base and the project's cultural impact. Do you think the mixtape was a landmark celebration of trap dominance, or just a playlist of quick hits? Views. Drake elevated his status from rap star to global icon with Views, a sprawling 20-track album that blended introspection with ambition. Released in April 2016, the album was initially titled Views from the Six, a nod to his Toronto roots, and featured the iconic cover art of Drake perched atop the CN Tower. Collaborating primarily with his longtime producer, Noah Shebib, and features from artists like Rihanna, Future, and Party Next Door, Drake crafted a sound that fused elements of 90s R&B, New Orleans bounce, and atmospheric trap. The album's tone oscillated between melancholic introspection and celebratory bravado, reflecting Drake's internal conflicts. Lyrically, he explores isolation, fame, and romantic entanglements, giving listeners both hits and emotional depth. Hits like Hotline Bling became a meme-fueled sensation, while One Dance, with Wizkid and Kyla, conquered the globe with its dancehall flavor, each showcasing Drake's versatility and ability to blend genres seamlessly. On Summer 16, Drake takes fresh shots at Meek Mill, reinforcing the dominance he established with Back to Back, the scathing, radio-ready diss that mocked Meek's career and relationship with Nicki Minaj. Critics had mixed reactions. While some praised the album's ambition and depth, others felt it lacked the cohesion of his previous works. Many fans loved the blend of Toronto, Caribbean, and Afrobeat influences, saying Drake finally gave his city and culture a global stage, while others criticized the album for being too long, repetitive, and self-indulgent. Despite this, are we even surprised that the album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and remained there for 13 consecutive weeks? Views was massive. It dominated charts and gave us inescapable singles like Controlla and One Dance, which became Drake's first number 1 single on the Billboard Hot 100, pushing dancehall-inspired sounds into the mainstream. Which track from Views has stood the test of time for you? More Life? Released in March 2017, Drake redefined the 22-track album format by branding More Life as a playlist, reflecting a shift in music consumption. The cover features Drake's father, styled to resemble an old-school photo, which fit the playlist theme. Drake wanted to experiment, collaborate globally, and flex his reach beyond traditional album formats. The project featured collaborations with artists like Joria Smith, Skepta, and Young Thug, showcasing Drake's versatility and ability to curate diverse sounds. From UK grime to Afro beats, dancehall to R&B, More Life is eclectic, relaxed, worldly, and designed for streaming repeatability. The playlist format influenced streaming-era releases, blurring mixtape, playlist, and album boundaries. Drake became a curator as much as a performer, defining global trends and showing genre fluidity. Lyrical themes range from love and heartbreak to wealth, fame, and reflection. The track Passion Fruit underscores themes of distance and fractured intimacy. Get It Together carries a plea for communication over a soulful, dance-ready beat, while Do Not Disturb and Free Smoke showcase Drake's rap prowess as he continued sending subliminals toward Meek Mill and Tory Lanez. Critics largely praised the creativity, ambition, and global reach, with Pitchfork noting its energy and lush sounds, and Rolling Stone praising it as a masterful tour of all the grooves in his head. Fans embraced the diversity and streamability, though some found it scattered, more like a Spotify mix than a classic album. Despite its sprawling nature, More Life debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and broke streaming records on platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, underscoring Drake's dominance in the digital age. Love it or hate it, the album not only solidified Drake's status as a global music icon, but also set a precedent for future artists to explore genre blending and cross-cultural collaborations. From a vulnerable mixtape to a genre-defying playlist, Drake's first 8 projects trace a journey of evolution, experimentation, and domination. But his story doesn't stop here. The next era would bring compilations, a double album, and genre shifts that kept fans guessing. Stay tuned for part 2, where we dive into Drake's musical expansion from Scorpion to his latest release, exploring how he continues to shape global music culture.